All right, so to our viewers, my name is Gareth. You're watching the Hub Online Network, and we are being visited by Councilwoman and EOC member Wendy Coomber.
EOC.
EOC, sorry.
Yes, thank you.
And what is EOC?
Actually, I'm not a counselor. Emergency Operations Center, and actually, I'm not a counselor during this. I'm just a volunteer.
Oh, fair enough. So tell us what's going on.
Well, since Saturday night, we've been joined trying to manage the floods on Cache Creek and then through the Bonaparte. We activated our EOC so that we could access some provincial funds to do this. So we've hired engineers, we've hired heavy equipment, we've had lots of work being done along the creek for the past few days, and in the last couple of days, 2 or 3 days, we've turned our attention to the Bonaparte River, which, as you know, the creek flows into, and so we've had to do some work along that. We're still doing work along the creek. Sloughing is our biggest problem right now because of the water levels. The sides of the creek are falling in, and we're starting to find that on the river as well.
Right. So last week there were some houses and places actually evacuated. Have you had any people coming to see you at the community hall?
Well, when we issued the evacuation order, we activated the emergency support services. We have a local group in town, and they have set up their reception center upstairs at the community hall. And I believe they have had some people come because they can offer accommodations and food while people are out on evacuation order. I can't give you the exact numbers, but it's less than a dozen.
Okay, well that's not so bad. I have been seeing so much work being done around town in Cache Creek by city or village workers and other contractors. So that's awesome. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, our Public Works has been really great on this. They know the town, they know where all of the services are and where we need help the most. They've been helping the engineers identify these areas. We've reinforced a few sewer mains, making sure that the town has good drinking water still. We don't want those things to be cut off because those are very important to our town. The sewage treatment plant, we've taken care of some bank erosion down there. And yeah, some, just things happen and you got to be on them right away. So we want to minimize the amount of erosion that's happening along our water streams because a little bit leads to more. So if you can catch it early on, then it's much better than leaving it for afterwards.
The evacuation or alert for like Sage and Sands Mobile Home Park for the places along the Bonaparte has been in effect for 4 or 5 days now.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, based off of what I saw this morning, because I live in Cache Creek, the water has gone down a little bit. What are you expecting to happen in the next few days?
Well, based on what the experts are telling us, and if there's an expert on weather, I'd like to meet them. But based on what they're telling us, water levels should remain fairly steady in the river, moderate fluctuations up and down because of nice cool temperature up near the top of the watershed, which is up around 100 Mile House. The weekend might be a little different as things start to warm up again. We might see a little bit of a rise again before the whole thing's finished, but who knows when that's going to be. Hopefully by next week, but you can't tell.
So this year has been a very rapid response so the water came up in the Cache Creek and the Bonaparte. The response from the village has been tremendous. What makes this year different from previous years?
every time we have flooding in the Cache Creek, it seems to cut a new channel, and it just gets worse and worse every year. Um, I think it was brought to our attention really soon in the flood. We weren't expecting it. It came about a week and a half earlier than it normally does, so we were kind of caught by surprise. So we called in engineers right away and contacted the province. And yeah, I think the difference was that we were looking for outside help quite early on in the game, and they helped us devise plans and areas they identified that we really needed to focus our work on to shore them up. So yeah, it's been quite hectic, but I think when it's all done, we'll see the benefit of it with the better protected infrastructure, and hopefully the bank will come out of it in better condition than it might otherwise have done. As you can see by reading the news, all of the lakes and rivers from here north of us are having an early flood. It's kind of crazy, and they're not all connected, so it's been a bit of a crazy season.
Um, yeah, so if people are needing emergency services such as the EOC, how can people get a hold of you?
Well, the getting a hold of the EOC, we are just planning. We're just doing the planning. So
Okay.
I think you probably mean the ESS
Yeah. Okay.
because they provide services to the public, but only once people are under evacuation order does that kick in. So if we don't have to order more people out of their houses, um, that is probably not an option. So if they are needing help, they can phone the village office, or they can, once it's over, I imagine Red Cross assistance, or I hope that it will be available. I hope that Red Cross assistance will be available to them.
So now that I understand that the EOC and the ESS are different, without naming names, what other types of people are on the EOC group planning meetings?
Well, we have logistics, we have financial. Financial's a big one. Myself, communications. There's a director and a deputy director, and um, also public works plays a big role on it because they're what you would call an incident commander. They're on the ground. They do they do rounds of the town every morning just to see how the riverbed is holding up and how the infrastructure looks.
Are all those people local, or are some of them from Kamloops or other places in the province?
Most of us are local. We do have a local team, but we did get assistance from Kamloops over the weekend, which was great. Kamloops sent us five of their best people, and they really provided a lot of help and took a big load off of our shoulders.
Um, have you been around town seeing all the sandbags that have been put up?
I have. It's great. Be nice if it had been done a week before, but I mean, any sandbagging is great. Yeah, I'm sorry that this COVID-19 resulted in the social distancing of everyone because we usually have our sandbagging be early on in April, and we couldn't do that this year because of the need to be so distant from each other. But we were hoping that by providing the piles of sand and the sandbags that people would be able to do their own. I know it was very hard for some people to get out and do it. We're not all 18-year-olds anymore. But I think and I hope that everyone who needs sandbags has received it by now.
I drove around a few of the piles today, and they all seem pretty decimated. So that's good.
Yes, it is.
Um, Is there anything else that you would like to? Oh yes, I had another question. Where do you get your prediction information from? Do you follow a certain website that people can follow at home, or?
Well, we're in touch daily. We have conference call meetings with the Rivers Forecast Center, and we also on that meeting would be representatives from Environment Canada, Forest Lands, Natural Resources, and Rural Development Ministry is also in on those, and representatives from around the region who would probably be on the same watershed as us. They would be in on those calls as well. And yeah, we're pretty much updated regularly whenever there's a change in anything that's happening along the river.
And as of this moment, knowing that things can change at any time, um, is there a forecast for it to come up anymore, or is it supposed to flatten out, or what's the idea for the week?
From what I've heard, and don't quote me, I know that's too late now, but the levels may fluctuate up and down moderately. But well, fingers crossed. My own hope is that we're not going to see it come over the bank. But like I said, you just can't. Even with the best forecast, you just can't predict these things. We've had in the last few days, they've told us that a big rain event could change things.
Mm-hmm.
It hasn't, because we haven't had that rain that they predicted. So, it's almost down to a guessing game. Even the best educated guess is just that. It's just an educated guess.
Is there anything else that you would like to say to the people of Cache Creek right now?
Well, yes, stay safe. Stay 10 feet away from the bank. That water can undercut it. You can fall in, and before you know it. And also, we're still under COVID-19 restrictions, so maintain your protocols. Stay 6 feet away from each other and 10 feet away from the bank, and help your neighbors as best you can.
Awesome. Well, I think that's it for me. I really hope that we can do this in person one day without COVID-19 being such a pain in the butt. But
Yes.
thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us.
Thank you, Gareth. It's been a pleasure.
And if there's any more
Stay safe,
updates,
bud.
please let me know and we can do this again.
I will.
All right, right on.
Okay, thanks.
Bye.